everybody, Ryan here from Music City Live. Welcome to this episode. I'm here with my good friend Aaron Allen.
Thanks for having me.
Aaron, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Definitely.
Aaron is a singer-songwriter, guitar player, husband, father, and man of many talents.
I guess so. I try, but talking to you before the show, I think you're busier than I am, that's for sure.
Busier, maybe, yes.
Yeah.
So I had the pleasure of having Aimee on for the Forest City London Music Awards.
Nice.
Episode that we did for that, which was cool. And I knew obviously about the tattoo shop, but I didn't realize sort of the COVID hit and then it sort of went away. But I for some reason I thought that you were still doing them, but she said that she had taught you and that you and her had the shop together and that she's now still doing it full time. That's the way it went. I think she's been doing it for like 18 years now, which seems crazy. But at the time, we had a hair salon and tattoo shop. Okay, yeah.
And I kind of, I like to do a lot of things. So I kind of got tired of cutting hair. And I said, can you teach me how to tattoo? She goes, okay. So she taught me how to tattoo, and I did that for 5 or 6 years. And
amazing.
Yeah, then I got some radio play, started getting more into the commercial space and, signed a publishing deal. And I went, oh, I'm going to do this full time. Yeah. And I'm going to take this on. And then all of a sudden COVID hit. Like I quit my job a week before COVID. I'm just going to be a rock star now. Finally, the dream's here. And then boom. Okay. What do I do now? And I haven't went back yet. I'm still doing music full time.
Yeah.
But
no, this happened to everybody, man. Trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, we had it was funny because my dad says, we were going to have a record year that year. And we were, like, between his side and mine, we had a lot of shows lined up. It was going to be like a solid year. And it was funny because even after the first lockdown, everybody was still pretty confident. Like, oh yeah, no, we're still going to do our shows. We're just going to, move things to the fall. And no.
No,
that happened.
We didn't expect that. No, I've been riding it out the best I can. And coming out of COVID, like the shows were crazy. Yeah, Did you guys find there was so many shows after COVID? Like I had to turn stuff down.
Yes.
But in the industry, it's kind of waning a little bit. But after COVID, it was like, holy, this is nuts.
Yeah, even some of the guys that work for us, they're guitar techs, right? Like they every single band wanted to go on the road. Well, they only work for one band at a time. Right?
Yeah.
Typically in the past, they would rotate through bands, right?
Yeah.
Like Bungie, who works, does some stuff for Tom Cochran and is full-time with the Bare Naked Ladies. Sometimes he would go out with other bands, right? When he's not on with the ladies. But like that wasn't a thing. Like, ladies were going out and that was it. Bungie was with them.
We were ready. We were like, we need to do stuff now.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got a family going. You got 2 little girls, right?
I got 2 girls, 11 and 6. Amazing. They keep me busy. I homeschool the 11-year-old. After COVID, she didn't want to go back.
Oh, wow.
She'd always been bothered by like a lot of loud noises and stuff like that. So she said, I really don't want to go back to school. And I went, well, I can work. I built a studio in my house. Mm-hmm. So I have a studio down in the basement. So I said, well, we can do that during the day. I'll work at night and I'll play on the weekends and make it work. And it's been working.
Good for you. So man. That's amazing.
Yeah, they keep me busy, but it's great. I'm really blessed to spend all that time with her.
And Aimee was saying that the kids get to pick up instruments around the house and learn all kinds of fun stuff.
There's everything there. Like when I was a kid, walking in there and having a wall of guitars and drums would have been the greatest thing. We got a grand piano in the dining room and anything you could want, but they don't pick it up like I would want them to. All it takes piano lessons, and she's getting on there and she's starting to write her own songs now. But I try to get them on the drums. I want them to really make some noise. And piano, I think, is the best instrument to learn, though. Aimee learned it. Yeah. And once you have that theory down and you have that piano ear, like Aimee, she tells me when I'm singing out of tune and when I'm playing the wrong chord. But it's all there for them. Take it, have fun, and do it for fun, kids. Just do it for fun.
Yeah, well, especially at the age they're at, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my little one, she's 6. And I was saying to Aimee, like she's into it. She's doing piano and she's loving it. And she's now started to she started to find singing.
Oh,
as
cool.
well, right? So she's got a performance coming up, a recital coming up where she's singing and then she's also doing piano, right? So
nice.
So yeah, at that age, I think it's good to just do it for fun. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Ultimately.
Well, even at this age, like, because after going through being on the radio and all those sorts of things, you get lost. And then, after all that kind of cooled off and I figured out what it was, I had to find my way back to having fun.
Yeah. Right.
Because once you go there, I've never heard so many people talk in my ear, and it changes who you are. And then you might start making music for chart numbers rather than having fun with your friends. And it's taken me a long time to get back there, but I think we should always do it for fun. To do it as a career, it's really tough. And then once you get there and everybody has their say, I don't know, it's not the purest form of art anymore.
No.
No.
Jared, we got some photos, right? Right before we go on, grab, the Aimee folder. Yeah. There's a photo that I think, there we go.
Nice.
Where's that? Is that Lucan?
I think that is Lucan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Lucan Summerfest.
Yeah, we did that show actually.
Yeah, I think that might have been playing with I Mother Earth and Sloan.
Yeah.
I think that was that year.
And that's the old tattoo shop, right?
That's the old tattoo shop. We had it 10 years. I feel like the main reason we closed it down, it was on Wellington and South Street, and it was just getting really rough in that section. And they were breaking our windows, and we were having tough times. Every morning we'd have to clean up outside, and it'd be crazy. So they moved their business into the Kellogg's building. I left, and so we shut that down and moved into the Kellogg's building. But we had 10 great years there.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was a good time.
And then there's one more, right, Jer? Yeah. So what was this? What were you guys doing here?
They had me sing the national anthem at the London Majors game, and my kids came out.
That's cool.
I've done the Knights game, and I've done a Kitchener too, and it's so cool to have the kids out there. And to tell you the truth, I like bringing out the family because I'm less nervous. If they're all with me, I'm stronger. I got a lot of nerves and anxiety, so I don't really like to perform live. So to have them there is really great.
Aimee said something similar. She said she grew up with some stage fright herself.
Oh yeah.
And she made a comment that when she told you she was going to co-host the awards, you're like, really?
It blew my mind because my anxiety is so bad I'll pass out. It's debilitating. And she comes home and she says, "Oh yeah, they asked me to do this award show." And I'm like, I never thought you would do anything like that, but she wants to challenge herself and she wants to get out of that. Me, I'm finding it harder as I go on. I think when I was young, I'd get up on the stage and have a lot more fun. But now, well, going into that space too that I went into, the radio space, you feel like there's a lot of eyes on you and you can't make mistakes. And I really felt that way for a long time. And I put amounts of pressure on myself that, nobody should, to be perfect. We're not perfect. Like I see Steve Earle and he messes up and it's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, right.
But when you get to that stage, you go, oh, you can't mess up, man. It's all hinging on this. And it changes you as a person. So I'm getting worse as the years go on. And it's tough. It's tough to be that way. So I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her that she's going to do that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from Chatham, just an hour from here, Chatham, Ontario, small city, 30,000 people growing up, and there wasn't much to do. We just worked in factories, and so I was always playing in punk bands.
Oh, yeah?
I started out as a drummer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The only reason I went over to guitar is nobody would write songs. We were playing covers all the time.
Oh, okay.
And I really wanted to make a go of this. And I said, all right, I got to get a guitar. I got to start writing songs. And that's kind of what started the whole thing.
Interesting.
I've always had drums, though, throughout my life. I bang around on them, and I still wish I was a drummer. But a lot of people just weren't willing to write those songs or do that work, So
yeah, I was going to ask you how you got into guitar. That's interesting.
It's a byproduct. I always say I'm not a singer or a singer or a guitar player. I'm a songwriter. That's what I consider myself. I don't, I got about Neil Young skills on the guitar. That's where it goes. And singing, I got about the same. I don't necessarily dig my voice all that much, but songwriting for me is my therapy. And growing up in a small small city. And my mom actually had terminal cancer when I was a kid. She was diagnosed with that when I was, I don't know, maybe 12 or something.
Oh, wow.
And so songwriting came along right at the perfect time because, you know, after we got that news, what do you do with that? I was so angry. You know, I got arrested a lot and I started doing a lot of crime and I didn't want to go to school. I got locked up when I was 14.
Wow.
Yeah, I got locked up here and songwriting saved my life, man, because I didn't realize it at the time, but I was getting all these emotions out on the page and I'm so angry and I never understood the anger. But if you go back and you read the song, it's all there for you. You just got to read it and go, oh, that's what I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. So, you know, sometimes I'm pretty emotional. If you listen to my stuff, there's an emotional element in every song. It's pretty emotional. And that's why it's there, because it's my therapy. It's not rating a top 40 hit about drinking or something, unless I drank and had a crazy night and I feel regretful about it. And that's another story. I haven't drank in 10 years. But
wow, good for you, man.
Yeah, I had to quit when I had a kid. So
Yeah.
I was on a bad road there, but yeah, that's what it's always been. It's been therapy for me. So I don't love playing the guitar. I don't love singing, but I do love writing songs.
Yeah, I get that. I mean,
Yeah.
I spent some time, same thing. I DJ'd when I was young, and then I thought, okay, you know what? Yeah, I want to make a go of this DJ thing. And everybody said, oh, you know, you're gonna have to make your own music.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same thing. Like, you know, there was really nobody around me at the time that wanted to make music. So, you know, I had to get the software and learn it. And, you know, my cousin in Toronto, who, you know, is a decent piano player and guitar player and stuff. And we got together and we ended up putting a studio together in Toronto. And that was a commitment, man. I was driving twice a week to Toronto. I was dating my wife at the time. She was going to school in Guelph. So I was driving to Guelph twice a week and I was driving to Toronto 2 other days a week.
Nice.
And I was working here full time and I was doing shows on top of that. And I was DJing on top of that. And so there was a lot going on. But yeah, the songwriting thing is I hear you loud and clear with the therapy piece, because I look back even at songs that I wrote that, you know, probably will never hear the light of day, but it's absolutely what I was going through at the time.
Oh yeah.
And definitely listening to even other songwriters' songs, when I think back about some of the troubled times in my path, right?
For sure.
I had a really insane breakup with my ex, and around that time I found Keith Urban's The Golden Road.
Nice.
And there's several tracks on that album that basically like helped me get through that period of time.
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, absolutely. I mean, the songwriting thing is interesting, right? Like it's interesting that like you cut hair, and obviously that, you know, Aimee did tattoos, and that you guys are very artistic people, right? Like,
yeah, we try to live our art for sure.
Yeah. And I think that that's super important, man. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people out there that, and I'm really happy you brought up a lot of what you did about the art side of it, because there's not enough people talking about that. I think, you know, there's a lot of people that because of access to social media and internet, they do see the side that you started to creep in on when you hit radio, right?
Sure.
Which is that commercial, you know, flashy side that, like you said, everybody all of a sudden has an opinion about everything, and it becomes less about your art and more about what's going to sell, right?
It's all about what's going to sell. And, you know, it really rocked me. I don't know why I thought it would be different. I don't know why. I thought, oh, once I get there, they're going to love it, you know, and it wasn't that way at all. It was, I had a PD go, you sing too emotionally. I go, what are you talking about? But when you do listen to the radio, that's not on there. You know, I signed a publishing deal and I have songs that I want to cut, but nobody else wants me to cut them. They go, Aaron, nobody wants to cry on their drive to work. Like, I want to cry on my drive to work. You know, there's a song called Elephants by Rachel Yamagata that I put on just to cry.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes it's there and I can't quite get it out, and I throw on that song and I go, oh, thank you, Rachel Yamagata. You know, Lots of Steve Earle songs like You got me through those years.
Sure.
I feel like a lot of music isn't speaking to us like it did. We went through a great time. You know, we lived through the 90s and we got to, you know, they talked right to us. I don't really feel that these days from the music that we're getting.
Well, there's less real life. Like what you're writing about is real life, right?
That's
regardless of how many of those songs will ever hear the light of day. It is irrelevant. You're writing real life, and that's a completely different thing. It's an art form, and it's yourself, right? It's a completely different thing than someone who goes in it with the objective of, I want to become famous.
Right.
You know, because then what you're doing, especially as a young person, is you're looking at, well, who do I look up to? What do they do? I got to do what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you're mimicking other people. You're not like, and you find your own way, like you find your own path on that, but your intention is different going in.
Definitely.
Right? It's totally different.
Definitely it is. You know, there is a little piece of Steve Earle in me. There's, you know, I spent a lot of time in Nashville writing songs, co-writing songs, and every time I write a song, someone sneaks in and I'll hear the line and I'll go, oh, I didn't write that. You know, Phil Barton wrote that 3 years ago. I take from everybody around me, and that's what creates this. But it is really hard not to let that all out. Let that all out in the world, because that's all we want to do as artists. Sometimes that's a bad thing, letting it all out. Sometimes it's good to have a filtration system that goes, maybe we keep that in the vault, all right?
Yeah, well, but that's sometimes what management or wives can be for.
Wives. That's perfect. I bounce everything off of Aimee, and she'll tell me when I'm insane.
Yeah. I do the same thing with my wife. Trust me. You know, if I'm thinking about something and we're doing something like marketing wise or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know about this, and I'll ask her. I'll be like, what do you think about this? She's like, you're nuts.
Yeah, I got this brilliant idea. That's a terrible idea. All right, then I don't do it. I don't cut that song. I've never cut a song unless she went, that is the song. Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
No, and I get that. I understand that. I understand where you're coming from on that. What brought you? So you grew up in Chatham. What brought you to London?
I kind of lived between Chatham and London a little bit. My mom had moved back and forth. Twice, I think. So when I was ready to kind of go out on my own, I thought, oh, I got to go to London. I got to go to a bigger city.
Yeah, right.
Like, what am I going to do in Chatham? I'm closer to Toronto. I can get more gigs and stuff. So that's basically what it was just moving to a bigger city so I could have a bigger pool of musicians and get more gigs. And it's always been home. I love it here. I wouldn't move. You know, I spent a lot of time in Nashville, but I would never move there. As much as I like it.
I was going to ask you about that actually, but that's interesting.
I wouldn't do it. The scene, it's like nothing I've ever seen before, because in London, people take it seriously. But in Nashville, people live and die by this. You know, and so do I. And I want to be the best at my craft, and I spend hours every single day trying to get better. And so do they. So when I go down there, I feel normal. You know, I actually feel normal.
Yeah.
Here, I don't really feel so normal because people usually work jobs, and I can't do that. I can't work 9 to 5. I haven't done it in like a long time now. I probably can if I got to pay the bills, but down there, it's just a different thing, man. Everybody is just trying to create art every day, and it's really cool. And they're trying to do it at the highest level they can. And I thought I knew how to write a song before I went there. I kind of went through this thing with a producer I was working with, Jeff Dalziel, and then we called it Cowboy Boot Camp. And I worked with him for 9 months until he let me go to Nashville and work with those writers. He said, no, we got to put you through this boot camp. And he had me listen to 4 hours of music every single day. He made this playlist. He said, you need to listen to this every day. And he sent it to me, and I'm like, Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, Rihanna, I'm not listening to this. I called him up, I don't like any of this. And he said, that's why you're listening to it. All you listen to is Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen. You don't even realize how close-minded you are. He goes, my job is to make you an open road, and you can't go to Nashville until you're an open road.
Yeah, it's true. That's
and I went, okay, I'll listen to you. I'll go down there and co-write, and I will do that. And I refused to co-write. I said, no, I'm not going to Nashville. But he said, if you don't, I won't work with you. So I said, okay, I will. I'll try this. And I went down there, and it was one of the greatest experiences. I remember walking into Liz Rose Publishing. I had never co-written before. I think I co-wrote 1 or 2 songs in Nashville before I went to Liz Rose. And I walked in, and there's Taylor Swift platinum albums everywhere, Tim McGraw, whoever. And I'm like, why are the records all over the wall? Oh, we've co-written songs with them. We co-wrote that song. I'm like, and then I read up on who Liz Rose was. She's written a bunch of them with Taylor Swift, and it was just a crazy experience. And a lot of times I feel as artists, we resist that because it's going to water down the art, especially people in rock bands. They resist the co-writing.
Yes.
But through listening to 4 hours a day of music I didn't like, going down to Nashville and co-writing and pushing myself, I'm a better songwriter than I've ever been. It's amazing. All that knowledge that I got, instead of being pig-headed and only wanting to be Bob Dylan, you learn a lot of the times, even those bands in the 90s, Chris Cornell, Soundgarden, you didn't know that co-writers wrote with them.
That's right.
But they all had co-writers. You just didn't know it because they didn't want, you can't, hey man, this is art.
Well, and internet wasn't like it is now.
Exactly.
I mean, access to that information wasn't like it is now.
No, not at all. It's good though, but hey, if you want to do that, that's great. But I mean, talk about being open-minded. Once my mind was open, I remember walking down the street. I used to listen to it, walk my dogs, and I'd listen to this playlist every day. And I always used to write songs with a guitar. But eventually the guitar went away. And the reason the guitar went away is because I would listen to Ed Sheeran, Justin Bieber, whoever, but they would be singing melodies I would never ever think of. I'm in Steve Earle land.
Yeah, right.
I'm just telling a story, people. I'm a storyteller. But once their melodies locked in my head, if I took away the guitar and just wrote a song on my phone with no instrumentation, the possibilities were endless.
Yeah, right.
And that's where Jeff wanted me to get to, and I thank him so much for that. But now when I write a song, I don't use an instrument.
Oh, wow.
I write the song in my head, and the whole melody's there, and then I take it to the guitar. Because I already have the chords in my brain, but I'll take it to the guitar, and then even if I don't know the chord, it's in my head. So then I go, oh, here it is. So now I'm going outside of what I used to do. And when you start doing that and you start achieving your art on that level, a whole world opens up. It's a scary thing, though. It's a scary thing.
Great and scary all at the same time.
It is, man, because I'm literally trying to be as perfect as I can be and as best as I can be at this craft. And it drives me nuts on a daily basis.
But you're grinding it out.
Trying. Yeah. Down in my basement all by myself in the studio, just driving myself nuts every day.
It's the part that nobody will ever see, right? Like
no, you don't want to see that. It's boring, it's hard, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But then, building during COVID, I kind of won some awards and started getting on the radio during COVID, and I had no live shows. I did have some money coming in and stuff, and what am I going to do? I can't do anything. So I decided to build a studio in my basement, and I put all that money into that, and now I have this thing down there where I can make free music all the time, and I'm locked away down there. You know how it is.
I know how it is.
Like, you could spend 16 hours down there, and I have, and still you don't want to go to bed.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to bed because you got another chorus to do or something. It's so addictive. And
when you started playing out live, because you mentioned you were playing in some punk bands and stuff back in the day, right?
Yeah.
So when did you start playing out live? Because you mentioned that live wasn't really your most favorite thing in the world, but when did you start actually playing out live?
When I was 16 was my first paying gigs. I was playing the Elephant's Nest in Chatham, doing covers. Those were my first gigs. And then getting into punk bands with my friends and, playing the CBD club in Chatham. We'd rent out the CBD. Back in the day, that's what we used to do. We'd rent out the hall, and then all your friends would come, and, you'd have a punk rock show. Those days are kind of gone, but I think they might come back. But yeah, I started when I was 16, so I've been doing this for almost 25 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. And
time flies.
Yeah, playing live doesn't get any easier for me, but time does fly.
Did you start all your original stuff? Did you start playing out live with any of it before COVID?
Oh yeah, like I've been recording at the Sugar Shack here in London for years, and then before that it was the House of Miracles, and I was recording at the House of Miracles. So I think I've released, close to a dozen records before people saw what they saw 5 years ago. We took down everything because when I started working with Jeff, he said, "Okay, well, you got a whole bunch of stuff here. We're gonna take all that down. We're going to rebrand you, and this is all the people are going to see. Trust me, it's going to work." I trusted him, and it worked. But there's like about a dozen albums out there before that. Oh, wow. I think my first album I made was, I probably made an EP when I was around 8, maybe 19 or something, 19 or 20. I made a record with Andy McGoffin in 2006. I remember that. That was kind of like my first solo album, acoustic album, 2006. But I've made punk albums, rock albums, and probably another 10 Aaron Allen albums.
So at what point did you transition? Because you mentioned you had to pick up the guitar to make it happen, but at what point did you transition from the punk the cover days to the original stuff? Like, what was that? Where, from a songwriting perspective? Like, when did you start actually doing all the songwriting stuff?
Well, I had always written a song since, the age of 12 and trying to get that out. But when you're that age, you just want a bar gig. You just want to make some money. You just want to be up there. But what happened was I was in a punk band with Aimee. I've been with Aimee since the age of 18.
That's crazy. I didn't know
that. We've been together 26 years or something like that. So, and my brother was the drummer.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And my brother and I didn't get along. We fought all the time, and Aimee would just kind of sit there and, he would throw a drumstick at me, and I literally remember strangling him with the guitar string.
People probably thought that was just part of the show.
This is great. Well, we would be jamming, and we would get in fights all the time, and we made, I think, 2 albums together, and then it fell apart, and I went, okay, what am I going to do now?
Right.
All I was left, I had a Marshall stack and everything, and we were a loud punk band. And I go, how do I do this on my own? So I bought an acoustic guitar, and I go, this is the only option I have. And then, I started gravitating more towards Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
More towards artists like that. And it was actually a great thing because they spoke to me like I had never, ever felt before. The stories they told, Steve Earle, obviously, big in my life, but the stories they told, I went, oh, this is what I'm going through. Yeah, these guys know what I'm talking about. And from there, it never stopped. And I kind of couldn't be in a band. I haven't really been in a band since. I've been in some punk bands here and there, or bands for a short period of time, but I've pretty much been solo since the age of 20 or something like that. I've had many people play with me over the years, and Aaron Allen and the Small City Saints. And right now I use guys that I hire, and that's the way that goes. But I guess I'm not too good in a band. It's hard, man. It's hard with all those personalities.
Oh, it is, man. Trust me. And when I talked, I just had Mike Denny.
And
we talked about that. We talked about the fact that, he, and not just him, I mean, many people I've talked to, including myself, I've done some artist management stuff back in the day. And I think, I definitely prefer to manage an artist,
Yeah.
and build a band and a team and things around the artist. It's just easier when you only have the one personality.
For sure. And when you look at that, a lot of people, one of the things I feel is wrong with music these days, this is my opinion, there are no bands. There's a reason there's no bands, because the heads of the record labels feel exactly the same way.
Yes.
Who wants to manage Motley Crue? Who wants to keep those guys under wraps? Nobody. So we're just going to take Rihanna, and Rihanna's going to be Rihanna, and we'll just get the rest. We'll fly the rest in.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
We'll hire whoever we got to hire to co-write.
100%.
We'll put whoever session players in the studio we got to put in there. Yeah, exactly.
We'll get rid of these guys that are too drunk to play their guitars and stuff. But that is where the real stuff came out.
Well, sure.
All those attitudes and everything that went on, and the pain. They're drinking pain away, man. Or they're having fun. But all of that, the fight in there, is where the real music comes from.
Absolutely.
And I'm making a record right now in Toronto. And with what I do, they don't use my band members. You don't hear my band members on my records. It's not them.
Right.
It's not my live band. So I said, no way. I'm going in the studio with my live band. We're all going to have an opinion. There's not going to be a producer in the room. Let's just make something. And man, was that cool. It's like I'm back in the Sugar Shack or the House of Miracles, and that's what brought me back to what I'm doing it for. Kids, get in the garage again, get in the basement, and start doing that. Like, you got to get off the computer a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to start making music with your buds again. You got to strangle them with guitar strings and work it out. People who know me go, I can't believe you strangled your brother with a guitar string. That's a true story. That's how serious I am about music.
And he threw a guitar, and he threw a drumstick at you to match.
Yeah, we've been full out fists, man.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I think that we do need to definitely see more bands try to stick it out, get together, and do that. And there is, like I was saying to Aimee when I had her on the show, I was, we sponsored for a few years during the London 4C London Music Awards. We sponsored the Battle of the Bands category, and I've seen some high school bands that have actually been really good.
Oh, 100%
coming out of London, and some young bands in general, just that are really super talented guys that have done what you said, right? Gotten into the garage and just sort of hunkered down and figured it out, right? And I think that's probably like the first big part, right? Is to just sort of, figure out what your art is and just get it polished,
For sure.
Because, that's the one thing I can say, that when I see any of these types of Battle of the Bands situations, I mean, the people who go up there, no matter what your age is or what your genre is or whatever, you go up there and nail it, and people are like, whoa, those kids are X years old. Like, and that's a big part of it. But that takes... that, like you said, whether it's 8 or 10 or 12 or 16 hours, grinding it out.
And years, right? It takes years. You go, oh, those kids are good. But, it's going to take them another 5 years to get there. We kind of live in a world, too, where it's like, you can make a TikTok thing and go up real quick. And that's a lot easier than being in the garage for 5-10 years.
Not sustainable, though.
It's not sustainable. But, talking to my buddy Pete L'Esperance the other night, and he's been doing it for 30-something years. And he still gets up at 5 a.m. and he practices his guitar for 3 hours a day before he does anything.
Wow.
And I go, that's something that the TikTok nation's not going to really...
No.
It's going to... I don't know if it's easier and that's the way to go, and Pete and I are just dummies for sitting down there and practicing so much. But with AI and TikTok... we don't need the garages anymore. We don't need all those things. And we don't need to, if you want to say, waste years learning that craft, because it can be done easier. So I'm kind of at this weird stage in my life going, those last 25 years that I worked so hard, were they worth it? Were they worth it at all? Because I don't know if that's championed anymore. Like it used to,
I think it's just different. I think you have, I was going to bring that up later about TikTok, but we can talk about that now. Social media, in general, and I lump in things like YouTube and all that as well.
Yeah.
Social media, in my opinion, is a very good tool in the toolbox.
For sure, yeah.
But that's what it is.
It's one of the tools.
It's one
yeah.
of the tools, right?
Yeah.
It's similar to a guitar as a tool, right?
Yeah.
You said yourself, I put the guitar down and I was able to expand my palette.
Yeah.
Same could be said about AI. Same could be said about, all those things. Auto-tune. There was a time back in the days when we grew up, where Milli Vanilli and all those types of things, where it was like singing to tracks was not a thing.
Yeah, they kind of got
auto-tune was not a thing.
You're right. If they were now, in this,
Yeah,
everybody does it, right? So it's like, oh, Milli Vanilli really got screwed over there.
Totally. But my point is that I think these are become, no matter what they are, they've become somewhat accepted tools in the toolbox.
Sure.
And I think that that's just part of what that is. Now, if you have no basis, like you said, your little girls are learning piano because that's the foundation. If you don't have the foundation to begin with, and you just go straight to TikTok, that's not sustainable. And the higher ups at the labels will know that. And there's only so much polish they can put on something with no foundational substance.
That's true, but they still do sign them up. I have a friend who she teaches vocal lessons, and the labels do send her the TikTokers, and she said, you wouldn't believe how bad it is. And so they do sign them up, but then they drop them.
That's right.
They drop them. And
that's what
I don't know if labels don't care, but I've had many friends that got dropped. And I've been through a little bit myself, and I've seen that. The labels have called me, and I've had conversations, and none of them went too well. But I've seen friends of mine get dropped, and I don't know if they care or not. But man, Imagine being a TikToker, but being an artist and wanting this your whole life, and then you get it, and then you get dropped like that. Everything you've ever wanted, you get dropped like that. Imagine what that does to a person.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel so bad for my friends and the kids coming up. I tell all the kids how it really is because I've seen it on the other side, and some of them don't make it through, and that's not fair. The way that they're treated and what people do to their dreams. And I don't know if it's always been like that, or if it's just what we're going through right now, but that's not a good scene, man.
No, I get that.
So, hey, I'm sure there's lots of good, talented TikTokers out there too that can sing and that can do it. And
oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, that whole side of the industry, I'm a little soured on, but there's good stuff about it too. I feel like in the 70s, you actually had to play to get somewhere.
Sure. Absolutely.
I still think you should. I still think the people at the top should be able to realize, that Jimmy Page is pretty good. There's something exceptional there. Maybe we should sign that guy. That person, they need 5 more years.
Right.
I'm not saying they'll never get there, but I feel like things are kind of half-baked these days. And then when that goes on the other side, it goes bad. It's bad for everybody. It's not good business.
Yeah. Well, you're touching on part of the reason for that. Part of the reason for that is because there's actually not as much time being invested in the craft, so the art that's coming out isn't as plentiful, and because it's not as plentiful, you have a whole bunch of people that want to make money, and then there's not enough things to make money on. Yeah. So what do? They take a turd and they polish it.
Yeah.
But I mean, for lack of better terms. But sure. I mean, at the end of the day, again, that's not. There's no longevity to that. Now, to your point, some people, they go, okay, I need to do better. Right?
Yeah.
And they do. Over the course of whatever it is, a year, 5 years, whatever, they hone their craft, right?
Yeah.
And they learn their instruments and they get better and they do maintain that success.
Sure.
But that's far and few between if you're not willing to put the work in.
That's true. And hey, it's so hard. I don't suggest anybody put the work into it. Like the work that Pete and I put into it, or Jeff, a lot of life is just sitting there waiting for you that you don't see. Your kids, like I remember when I first got into this and things started happening, I missed my kid's first birthday because I was at the CCMA Awards. I would never do that ever again.
Yeah, right.
I did it because it was a time where I thought it was something I had to do, and if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be seen, I wouldn't be remembered. And I remember playing a CCMA after party for Anthem Records, and it's one of the best memories I have musically, but it wasn't worth missing my kid's first birthday.
Yeah.
You know,
well, no, and you can't get that time back, man.
you can't get that time back. So I don't look at anybody who uses AI or TikTok or anything to get there quick as like, I question myself. I question myself and go, hey man, you're the guy who missed your kid's birthday. They didn't miss their kid's birthday because they were, you know, doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Spending their life in music. I don't know. So maybe as we all start going, hey man, time's short. Should we spend the time on this? Maybe it's going to be a different landscape. I don't know, because it's hard. It's hard to be good.
I think everybody has a different path, and I think that some people will choose to grind it out and go on that road, and other people will not. Other people will take the super easy path, like what you're talking about with TikTok.
Yeah.
Other people will find a combination, right? They'll find a combination of the two, right? They'll become good enough at guitar and good enough at singing, and they'll just, you know, get a couple of their friends who are really good players behind them, and they'll create some really captive TikTok video or Instagram reel or whatever, and it'll go viral. And then, you know, then they can choose to continue down that road or choose a different road. Right.
That's true.
But yeah, I think it's interesting, that, you know, for you, that you realizing that early in the success of it all, right? Some people, you know, don't realize that until after they've signed a major record deal and they've been on the road for a couple of years, and you know what I mean?
I try to tell them. I try to tell the kids, because I didn't start getting a little bit of success until I was 37, 38. If I would have got that when I was 20, you know, you're ready to sign anything.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But when a record label called me and said, this is what it looks like, I remember I went, what, are you joking? Like, I don't work right now, but if you take all of that, I have to get a job.
Yeah, right.
And then the person said, aren't you willing to do whatever it takes to be famous? And I said, no, I'm okay with just getting by. And that was pretty much the end of the phone conversation. But yeah, it didn't happen to me till I didn't get those phone calls till 37 or something. I went, oh, I figured out very quick what's going on here. And I didn't like it. And I went, man, Tom Petty was right. I listened to him in every other respect except for that, you know. Or Prince or something like that, you know.
Prince was super vocal about it.
Yeah, but you listen to it, why is this rich person whining? You know, most of the world would be like that. You got everything. No, they don't, because guess what? Tom Petty doesn't exist anymore. Prince doesn't exist anymore, and neither does Chris Cornell. They were telling the truth, and guess what? Me and nobody else listened. We said, "What? You're rich. Why are you whining?" None of us saw their calls for help until we lost the great Tom Petty, and we lost the great Prince. People think because you're on top, Bob Dylan said it. Everyone's got to serve somebody. Yeah, they're at the top, but who's behind? Who's behind? What are they dealing with?
Sure.
They're trying to tell us, and I didn't listen, and I don't expect any of the kids to listen. But yeah, the reality is, if it's not good for them, it's not good for us, because I've been trying my whole career. The last 25 years are based on trying to write a song as good as Tom Petty.
Well, that's a bar.
That's what I hold myself to. I listen to people go, you know, how did you learn to write songs? I listen to Bruce Springsteen, and I try to write something as good as him. And for me, I hold both of those, you know, those artists in such high regard. To me, it'll never happen. But if that's what you're trying for, you're going to do okay. You're going to be okay at this craft. You should try for that. But
how many songs have you written, you figure?
Oh, shoot. Through COVID, I wrote over 300.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Thousands. Like my publisher, when I got signed to my publishing deal, I think I handed over like 800 songs to them or something like that. 800 songs.
That's wild.
Those are just the ones that I had like audio files to and stuff. But thousands, like,
wow.
If I had to guess, probably 4,000 or 5,000.
That's wild.
Rate a ton.
Wow.
It's like an illness. It really is like it's an illness for me. I guess I got a lot to get out.
Yeah. Well, you're saying it was therapy, so you needed a lot of therapy.
I needed a lot of therapy. Even like when Jeff was doing that, Jeff, the producer I'm working with and had been working with, that brought me into that field. We were working together for 9 months, and he wanted me not to write full songs. He just wanted me to write ideas, give me the spark. And I remember writing all of these ideas, and after about 200 of them, I still didn't have an idea that he liked.
Wow.
And I said, "What do you want from me, man?" He called me. I go, "What do you want from me?" And he's like, "Just write about what you know." And I said, I don't know anything anymore, man. I'm lost. And he goes, "Write a song about tattoos."
Oh, there you go.
I'm like, tattoos, I don't know. That seems lame, man. But I did. I wrote a song called Good Tattoo. And I wrote it with Aimee. We started writing it together. And then we took it down to a guy named Phil Barton at Liz Rose. And I remember that's when I walked through the doors and I saw the Taylor Swift albums, and I was so scared. And we went up to his office, and then right behind his desk there was a platinum record that he had wrote a song with Lee Bryce.
Oh, yeah.
Woman Like You. And, 5, 6, 7 years before that, I was working at a grocery store, and the guy had country on, and I wasn't a fan of commercial country. And that song, when that song came on, I went, holy cow, it caught me every time. I went, as a songwriter, that is a perfect song. This was 7 years before I ever worked with Phil Barton. But back then, there were 2 songs on the radio I liked, and that was one of them. And then years later, I walk in, and that platinum album is on his wall. Mm-hmm. And I went, "What's that?" He goes, "I co-wrote that." He told me a story about it too, and it took them 12 hours to write it. And he goes, "We knew we had something special. We just kept going. We kept going. We kept going. And then finally, after 12 hours, we had it." But I walked into the room and I went, "I'm so scared to work with you right now."
Oh, geez.
And he goes, "Hey, man, we're just writing a song. Cool out." And then I showed this guy who's had 16 number ones, my little Good Tattoo song. "I got this song, Good Tattoo. Here, I'll play it for you." And I play it for him, and he goes, "That's awesome."
Sweet.
But then he said, "But I got to teach you how to write a chorus." "You want to write a chorus? This is how you write a chorus." And he showed me that day how to write a chorus.
Oh, wow.
And I'll never forget it. And I'll never not write a chorus. You know, in rock, I grew up in rock mostly. And sometimes choruses are like, I don't know, they're almost post-choruses, or the hook's not on the end.
Yeah.
There's all these ways you could write a song. When you go down to Nashville, you learn X, A, B, you learn all these things. But he really showed me how to write a chorus on that day, and I could not believe that song I loved all those years ago, I was working with that guy who wrote that. My dream was done after that. I don't care. I don't long for anything anymore. Like, there's no thing in my brain where I got to win a Grammy or something. No, I don't care. On that day, it was kind of fulfilled. Now I can go back to working at the grocery store. I'm sure I'm going to have to go back to work. When I do go back to work, it'll probably be a grocery store. But you said you were hiring, so.
There you go. Yeah, man. Love to have you. You won some CMAOs. I think there's some photos of that, right, Jer, in the one that says awards there?
Nice.
Yeah.
I won a few of those. Yes, I was the...
What were they for?
I think in 2020, I won the Rising Star. And that was cool because that was in London. They had the awards in London, but it was during COVID, so everybody was in their car. It was kind of like a drive-in.
There's a couple of them.
There's my daughter. So that was the next year I won Male Artist of the Year, and then I won Album of the Year, Highway Mile. And something really cool about winning Album of the Year, we called it Highway Mile. And after working with those people in Nashville, I got really down on myself, and I thought I couldn't write a song without them. So I had this song called Highway Mile, and I had a shared Dropbox with Jeff, and he listened to it one day because he just goes through and listens to all the stuff, and he goes, "What's this song, Highway Mile?" And I said, "Oh, this is just a song about my wife and family, and nobody wants to hear that." And I wrote it myself. And he goes, no, that's the song. We're doing that song. And it never came out as a single because Where Music Comes From kind of did the stuff for us. And I named it Highway Mile because of that, because at the time I thought I couldn't do it without anybody else, and I was losing myself. And I did lose myself. But that song and him going, no, this song's hitting me, made me realize I'm good. I'm okay. I can do it.
Sure.
You know, sometimes when you have this team around you, you lose yourself and everybody talks in your ear and you don't think you can do it. But that was a cool, really cool moment for me.
This is Forest City London Music Awards.
I think it was 2020 where I won the Country Artist of the Year for the Forest City Music Awards too. So that was a good year for me. We were all in lockdown, but it was it's the perfect time for my career to go up.
Yeah.
Work at it for 20 something years and then it's your time, Aaron.
Hey, man.
Make the most of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, for a guy that prefers to songwrite before playing live gigs, it's the perfect time.
It is the perfect time. I always wanted to be a songwriter until I saw what Phil Barton did. And like when you're down in Nashville, they do usually 3 songs a day, right?
Right.
So he's got his office, and then I come in, little old me, and then the next person's Lee Bryce or Brett Kissel or something. But they usually do like 3 songs a day, and I went, man, that's a grind. I don't know if I want to do that. But that's what being a songwriter was. I didn't know that. So I'm really grateful that I got to go down to Nashville and experience, hey, man, this is what they do every day. And then when you work with an artist that likes you, next thing you know, you're on their tour bus and you're out with them on tour and you're writing with them. And I'm like,
right. Now, when you signed your publishing deal down there, you said you obviously you had a catalog of stuff already. Do you still have the publishing deal?
I still have the publishing deal. I think I signed it maybe 4 years ago.
Okay.
I'm signed to Arts and Crafts. So Arts and Crafts is a Canadian label, and they work with Demolition Publishing in Nashville as well. So we've had some success at getting my stuff on television.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've got some stuff placed with other artists, but that's just been done by me because once you're in the industry, you know the artist and you just say, hey, man, you want this song? Like I remember coming back from Nashville, I wrote a song with James Barker and Joe Ernwine, a buddy of mine. And I came back and I went, oh, this song's a hit, man. And I took it to my producer, Jeff, and he goes, yeah, it is, but it's called It Couldn't Hurt. And the whole metaphor was it couldn't hurt to have another drink. And he goes, you're sober.
Yeah.
You can't put this out. Now that's where you need the filtration system. He came in and he said, no, don't do that. And then I sent it to my buddy, David, and he goes, oh, yeah, I want to cut this right now. And he cut it and he was on Warner and it went top 30. But, you know, I guess sometimes we do need those. I always remember that. I remember that filtration system, but I thought that was a hit. You know when it's a hit. But usually at that point, publishing's kind of a tricky thing. It's good for TV and movies, but I haven't really had luck in the placement world.
Right.
And it's really tough for Canada to break into the Nashville world because if you're not down there, it's tough for your publisher to get anything.
Yeah. Right.
You know, they do their best and they've had a lot of success. Like the Demolition Artists, there's a guy on there, Josh Ronan. That's kind of, they work together, Arts and Crafts and Demolition. The guy's got cuts with like Dolly Parton, Kelly Clarkson, everything like that. But you got to be down in Nashville.
And there's different ways to cut those publishing deals too, right? Like some publishers will take more than others, right? Like
for sure, yeah.
Like what have you sort of seen out there? Like because obviously you hear same with record labels, right? You hear like there's bad deals, there's okay deals. I'm not gonna say good, but
yeah, I don't think there's ever a good one.
No, but yeah, I mean from your perspective on the publishing side, because I mean you've obviously written a ton of tunes. And know a lot of people. Do you find there's quite a few people sort of giving up publishing to do some of these publishing deals, or they try to retain as much of it as they can?
Well, I think we have to in order to get those opportunities.
Sure.
But a lot of the times, if you're at that level where the label and the publisher is calling you, you're at the perfect level.
Right.
You move to Nashville and do it. Like I guarantee if I moved down to Nashville, the career would be going really, really well. I love my family, and it's the most important thing, and I would never uproot my kids or leave this city. I wouldn't do it. But I know the career would work out if I went down.
Right.
You got to be there shaking hands. You got to do stuff like that. And for me, it was just another opportunity. And with my deal, they take 50% of my publishing, to be candid. So to me, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, okay, you give me some opportunities, I'm going to give you some stuff, and we'll split it half and half.
Right.
When the record labels called, it was like, well, you want 95% of everything?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. So publishing seemed like a really good deal to me.
Yeah. That's
I'll do
crazy.
that. But, you know, sometimes I'm waiting for the big one. We got a song that's on Fire Country. It's coming out this summer. I think they're like 3 episodes away from it. And that one paid pretty decent. But if you start getting on some of these American shows and stuff, you're going, wow, man, what am I playing live for? If I can just get the placements like this,
Sure.
This would be great.
Yeah, especially if it ends up down the line going into syndication.
For sure. You know, I have got some placements before where I'm like, it doesn't pay much at all.
Sure.
So I'm kind of just holding on to the publishing deal, waiting for something big to come out of the woods or not. It's just, for me, I'm not living or dying on this. This is just an extra seed that I'm planting. I always try to tell the kids coming up, just plant every seed you can. Eventually a tree will grow or a flower will grow. It might not be a tree, a flower will grow, but just keep planting seeds.
Sure.
And don't let anybody take 95% of your stuff. Like,
No. I mean, that's what you mentioned, Prince and guys, people like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what they were talking about.
Oh, for sure.
And that, like you said, not like people, you know, at a certain age, you're not listening.
No.
But you need to listen because, you know, otherwise you're going to kick yourself later.
Yeah, for sure.
Like those artists did.
You will. And you'll find out, and they do. You know, I have told some kids, and then they're going to find out 3 years into their deal.
I would say just hire a good lawyer. I mean, that's you know, if you got something, like
Yeah.
you said, if you got something, if they're calling and you got something, it can be worked out. You don't gotta,
Oh,
you don't
100%.
gotta sign a bad deal. You just gotta come in with a good team.
Yeah, you got to have the knowledge.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go ahead and sign, you got to learn what's up. And I was lucky enough that at 38, 37 or whatever, I was thrown in, and Jeff taught me a lot. And that industry around me, I was privy to a lot of it. And I got to learn everything really, really quick. When you're 20 years old, it's going to take you another 10 years to learn everything.
Sure.
But once you sign that deal at 20, it's only going to take you 2 or 3 years to realize this is not good.
Yeah, right.
It's not good at all. I'm not going to say any names, but I remember an artist who had gold records, who was on the highway, Sirius XM highway, had gold records, 10 million streams per song, stuff like that, before they even signed. And then they signed, and it all went away. And a lot of people say, once you sign that record deal, that's the beginning of the end. You know, like this is where it ends. And I've seen that happen, and that scared me big time.
Interesting.
So I do tell the kids the other side, hey, this could work out. But I saw this happen with this artist, and it was bad. It was bad. I've seen that more than I've seen that. So if you want to play the odds.
Yeah, it can go either way. And I think, again, it comes down to what you have to deal with and who's in your corner, you know, and, you know, like you said, if you don't have the knowledge, get people around you that do.
For sure.
And then, you know, go from there. But Good Tattoo. So you did, actually, we'll play one. Jared, you want to fire up one of the videos? You and Aimee did some videos at our shop during COVID.
Yeah.
And we set up my dad set up a broadcasting thing at our shop because we had nothing going on, of course. No shows. Oh, there we go. This is where the music comes from.
He's in a band called Sunday.
That was the first one that came out, and
But
it kind
this
of
was like my
opened the
second
door for
show,
me.
right, down in Nashville ever.
That's cool.
And this one was kind of just like a flash of lightning. We wrote it in like 45 minutes. And I remember after we were done, I remember sending you the work tape and just like, hey, man, I really think this is something. And you were like, no, I think this is the one.
She was crying,
That
actually.
was the first released commercial radio, and I think it went to 72, and I'm just really grateful. So where music comes from will always hold a special place in my heart.
I miss that pink capo.
I know a place that has one.
You got a dollar, I got a jukebox. Let's get this on, singing along. If you got a record, I got one better. Hand me that guitar, play you a song. It's 4 chords, someone sing a melody. It's a throwback to the way it used to be. It's a lyric, it's a line, take you back in time to the soundtrack of you and I. It's in my bones, it's in my blood. It's that sound growing up. I feel it deep down in my soul. Hear that love coming through the stereo. It's that needle on the vinyl, get you every time. It's your heart beating like a drum. That's where music comes from.
Awesome.
That's a nice looking set that you
Yeah.
guys put together.
Hey,
That looks
man,
nice.
You know what? We have, my dad had so many people call him up after we took that down and go, hey man, can we come back there and shoot a bunch more stuff? And,
Yeah.
And it actually, because my dad, it's not a well-known fact, but I'll put it out there. My dad has this sort of secret passion for music videos and filmmaking, and he's spent all kinds of money, buying like Red cameras and like stuff that he'll never probably use or never use himself anyway. But he loves that. He did it back in the day. He had a country project he did back in the day called Little Rock, and we shot a couple music videos for that, and that's sort of where he got the bug for it.
Okay.
And then when we needed something for the guys to do during COVID, because we wanted to keep our guys on, that was sort of how everybody kept saying was doing that. But then once it started happening, everybody just started having a lot of fun. And so it pained my dad to actually take it all down, but it was built in the middle of our warehouse. So we really had no choice. I mean, we had to get back to work, right?
Yeah.
But it was a real fun experience. And I got to hang out for a couple of those sessions that they did. But it was like a 6-camera shoot and full production, video wall, the whole 9 yards.
It was nice, man.
It was a lot of fun for the guys that put it together, for sure, man. So there's a few of those on the PA Shop YouTube if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, the good tattoo song for me, I think obviously because I know the background with you guys having the tattoo shop, and Aimee doing the tattoo thing. I thought that was cool when that came out. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Oh, neat.
But yeah, I think for me, I gravitate with what you said about not leaving town, man. I've interviewed different people on this show that have said different things, and I respect them all.
Sure.
And I respect, because everybody's journey, as I was saying, is different, right?
Yeah.
I think that they're everybody that's come on, whether they said, oh yeah, you got to leave London, or no way, I'm not going anywhere. It's all based on their journey and their path and where they're going and what they've done and where they've been. Yeah. So it's all different. My thing is that I really like London. I've never wanted to leave London. I've never. I mean, I've been all over the world, blessed to travel the world for both personal and work.
Sure.
Seen a lot of places, done a lot of things. Always come back to London.
Yeah, it's home.
And so I think it's a great place to raise kids. I got a couple of young ones like you, so I think that it's a great place to raise the kids. At some point, me and my wife do some more traveling? Absolutely. But I think that we'll always have a place here. We'll always call London our home. And so I was really excited when I got asked to work with Corey in the music office thing to try to make London a music city.
Nice.
And in the end, rebranded my store, Music City Canada. Yeah. I really do believe that, we've got some really special stuff coming out of London. We always have. And, obviously the music awards helps to honor some of that, but that's part of why I'm bringing everybody on here, right? Is to talk about their past, their journey, their stories, and get it all down, right? Document it all, get it all down. But London, we got some really cool stuff going on, and there's a lot of cool people that are collaborating and co-writing and doing all kinds of fun stuff. So it's interesting that you're like, yep, no, I'm staying here, and that's what I'm doing. No, it is because I like that. That's what I want. That's what I want. I think that with the way things are now with traveling and how inexpensive it can be sometimes, and the internet and social media and everything else, I think all those newer tools in the toolbox, it allows you to live wherever you want to live.
That is true. You could do it from anywhere. Like I did say, I know that if I went down to Nashville, it would work. I know that. And it's going to be a lot harder here.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with not being that. I'm okay with being this.
Yeah.
If you're not okay with being this, then go do that.
Yeah, sure.
By all means, go to Nashville or LA.
Yeah, I get that.
But I can still make a living just doing that. And my priorities are family. Like, as much as I love music, I probably spend as much time on it as I do my girls. But they're number one.
Well, you're homeschooling your oldest, man. I mean, there's a lot of credit there for you on that, right? Like you wrote 8,000 songs, and then you're still homeschooling your kid, man. I mean, there's a lot to be said about that.
I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Well,
if you want to talk about my history, I never graduated high school, so I think she'd fare better in school. I don't know, but I did go back to college when I was in my 30s. But yeah, that's first and foremost. That's always been important. I mean, if it would have happened when I was 20, I'd go right to Nashville or I'd go right to LA. But if your life isn't working, don't try to push it that way. I've also seen friends move to Nashville and maybe put the family on the back burner. That doesn't work. It doesn't work.
No,
it's not going to work.
I won't name names, but recently found out that a friend of mine, went all out and the family life went away.
Yeah. You're going to trade. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's really tough to have both. And
yeah.
Especially
if the wife's not involved in the project, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, my wife is a musician, tattoo artist, yes, but she understands the struggle. Most partners, if you're not in the business, you're not going to understand this. You're not going to understand why your husband or wife's out till 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. playing an after party or something. It takes a special person, but I mean, sometimes you're choosing music or you're choosing your family. And in my opinion, choosing music is always the wrong choice. For me, anyways. That's how I live my life. That's always the wrong choice.
I don't think anybody's going to argue with the fact that family should be number one.
Yeah.
It doesn't always mean that people choose that, right?
No. And there's been times like I missed my daughter's first birthday. I did not choose it. And I've learned why it's number one. At the end of the day, they're always going to be there for you. When I got those bad gigs, I come home to them. They're always there for me. And when you just chase music and you push the rest away, don't expect the industry to be there for you. They're not going to be.
Yeah.
Those kids and that wife, they would have. They will. Don't take that for granted.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And especially if you want your kids to look up to you and be inspired to, to be good in life and, and not be, brats, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, especially at a super young age, like mine are, almost 2 and 6 years old. I mean, they're looking at me every day.
Yeah.
And watching what I'm doing and what I'm saying and all those kind of things, right? When they're super young like that. So, you obviously as a parent, you hope that you want to, if you want to be a good parent, you want to model good behavior, you want to model the right things. And if you're not around for them, then that ain't always the best thing. So
yeah,
it's all about choices in life. I mean, nobody's, like you said, nobody's perfect.
No.
Nobody's perfect. And I think, people make certain decisions, certain choices, and they got to live with that. That's just the way it is.
For sure.
A part of the journey. Right. I think that, in my path anyway, in my journey, I've chosen family.
Yeah.
I chose to stick it out with my dad here and work in the family business. And, even when it came to, the DJ career thing, I was looking to make a go of it at one point with my cousin. And then, I even early days when I first got together with my wife, when she was my girlfriend, I had a chance to go and be, I had a cruise gig to go on a world cruise around the world. And and do that. And I said, you know what? I mean, this girl I met is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, she's 19, she's going to university. If I don't jump on this, it's going to be gone by the time I get back for sure. And, you know, I made that decision to not do that world cruise. And here we are today, 20 years later with 2 kids. So, you know, I mean, you got to make those calls, and you got to live with whatever it is.
For sure.
That's what it comes down to, I suppose.
And hey, it could have turned out a different way. You could have been like, "Nah, I'm divorced," but I always think choosing love's the right decision for sure, even if it doesn't turn out right.
And communication, man.
That's the most important thing. You know, that's been hard too. When I'm down in the studio, and you know this, when you're in your element, nothing else exists. Like when I'm recording down there, nothing really exists. And then, you know, like 5 hours later, Aimee's like, "Do you want some dinner?"
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, I haven't even ate dinner. And I wake up and I go, "Oh, yeah, I have a family. I have a wife." And it's very easy to get lost in the art. You know, me with my mom having terminal cancer, I was lost in the writing of the song. I prefer to be lost. And still, even at the age of 43, most of the time I prefer to be lost and not deal with the real world. That's why I kind of live in songs, and I live in my studio and stuff like that. But yeah, she'll wake me up once in a while and go, "Hey, how you doing? You need to eat food? You need to do this?" But when you're caught in that artistic field, you forget everything else. You forget to eat. You know, you just eat a cheeseburger and you just continue on, and that's all that matters. It's a cool thing, but it's also a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
When you, not just, and I would say this question isn't necessarily just about you. I would say just in general from your experience, singles versus EPs versus albums.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What
Sure.
because you know, there's people that I've listened to Rick Beato and a bunch of different people talk about how we've gone down this road of singles, right? There's been a lot of singles. And you know, he also talked in one episode I watched about what you mentioned, which is that there's a lot of solo artists.
Yeah, for sure.
Right on the charts. Like, you know, I think he ran down the charts one day, and I think there was one band, and it was, I think, the Beatles.
I saw that episode.
It was a Beatles re-release or something, you know?
I remember that one.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it's interesting, but singles versus EPs versus, as someone who writes songs and has a lot of songs, and, you know, what's your sort of take on albums, like working on an album, which you're working on, versus sort of releasing singles and EPs?
Well, the single and EP thing was weird for me because, you know, 5-6 years ago when I started working with Jeff, it was singles, and I've always made albums. No, I'm going to write 10 songs, and that's what we're going to do. And then in that world, it's you're going to write 500 songs, and we're going to put out one. You know, you still do the work, you just don't get the record. But it's a costly thing on that level. So for me, to put out an album, when I put out my EP, Highway Mile, I think that EP cost me around $60,000 to put out. And that's just paying your players and paying production. And you're not talking about radio tracking on top of that or anything else, PR, any of that. So I see why it's a singles game, but I don't like it. I don't like it because as an artist, I want to get everything I can out of this singer. I want to learn everything I can about this singer. And if you just give them one song, they forget about you. They really do. And with me, to make my money back, I'll put out a single. And if that's still getting play and money's still coming in, I won't put out another one for 6 months until they kick me off the station. And in the meantime, I'm going nuts because I want to work. I want to put this stuff out into the world. But, you know, I've been working with Jeff for 5 or 6 years, and we've put out 2 EPs in that time. That's, you know, I think we've done about 14 songs together in 5-6 years.
Wow.
That's not a lot. And so I think people aren't, you know, I know we don't get to put posters up on the wall of the people we love anymore or anything like that. But I don't think people are as invested in artists like they used to because they don't know them. It's just one song here, one song there. Yeah, it's a great song. But I don't really know this. I don't feel like I know this person. Like when I was listening to Bruce Springsteen when I was depressed and Steve Earle, they were getting me through all those issues. And Bob Dylan, they were helping me through. And even though maybe they're horrible people, I don't know. But at that time, they were my friend. They knew me and I knew them. That might sound weird, but that's what I want out of my artist. I want somebody to help me through to the next day. I've never been one that just wants to just shake it on the dance floor. Or, no. I want to go.
Well, you're a storyteller, right?
Yeah, I want to go deeper than that, right? Yeah. So for me, it's always albums. Like, there is no Pink Floyd The Wall anymore.
No.
You know, there's no Nebraska. That doesn't exist anymore. You might say that it does somewhere out there on the internet. I'm just not looking hard enough. But that doesn't make it to the top anymore. And this is pretty boring. It's pretty boring at the top, I think. I want Nebraska again. I want something that doesn't sound perfect again.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's why, indie labels and indie artists are so important, and people that stick to their art and stick to their guns, right?
Sure.
Maybe, and like you said, maybe you won't be at this, whatever insane level where you're doing stadium tours or something.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's okay. You'll be loved. And you'll be helping people. Like when I cut a song, if you go check out my songs and you listen to them, every single one has a message. And when I go to cut a song, I ask myself, do I want my kids to listen to this? And is there anything that they can learn from it? And, especially Superman, a song like that, I wrote about not being Superman. And I wrote that 5-6 years ago. And it's coming true now. My daughter's 11. And I'm not Superman. I have this ring here that a fan and a friend gave me, and it used to have a Superman emblem on there.
Oh, cool.
Oh, it still does, but I've been wearing that ever since. They brought it to a show, and I don't wear my wedding ring, but I wear my Superman ring. And it's running out. Its power's run out because my daughter's 11 now, and now she's realizing, oh, Dad's flawed. And this whole song is coming true. Right? I'm not, but if you... I can just go, hun, refer to that song.
Yeah.
I know I'm flawed. Just refer to that song. But, I always try to put out something with substance that's going to help somebody else through it. I want somebody out there to listen to that song, come up and tell me how they're feeling because, a lot of people think that I'm just normal and doing good. I'm not. Like I just had a breakdown yesterday. So, like I say, I have debilitating anxiety, and I have a show coming up, and I had a breakdown, I think yesterday or today. I don't even remember what day it was. But a lot of times when I play my songs, people come up and they'll go, that took me back to this moment. And they'll cry, and they'll tell me the story, and I go, oh, that's why I do it. That's why everybody else did it back then. What are we doing it for now? Can I ask us all what we're doing it for now? Because I'm not sure that element is existing. And without that, I don't really think it's art, and I don't really think it's worth anybody's time. There's
to that point, there's a reason why a lot of us are going back and listening to music from back then and not as
That's
much
a good
music
point.
now, right?
The kids are listening to Nirvana now.
Yeah.
I'm having a real struggle now, though. The one thing that's like kind of tearing me apart is I've heard music at a level of I would consider perfection. Every song that Jeff gave me back was perfect. Nothing wrong. I just went, I didn't even know I could sound this good. It took me 10 hours to sing Where Music Comes From. When I started working with him, I went, what? It took 10 hours for me to sing that. And I can't go back. And that's really tough. I think everybody out there is having a tough time going, we can't go back to Nirvana. And I can't go back, even though I have a studio in my house, I can't go back to not quantizing stuff. I can't go back to it not being perfect because it sounds wrong to me now. I'm glad we lived through that time, and I want to get back there, but my brain won't let me. It sounds wrong, and I'm really struggling with that.
Right.
I wish we could all go back to no click tracks. When I started working with Andy, I remember the first time I came in, and I go, aren't we going to use a click track? At the House of Miracles here in London, Andy McGoffin. And he goes, no, you're just going to play it as good as you can play it. and that's what it's going to be. And then when we make another record, you'll play it a little bit better. And then when we make another one, you'll play it a little bit better than that. And I went, wow. Right there, Andy laid the foundation for me to always strive for something. He didn't put the click track on and fix it up. He went, you're going to play as good as you can. And that's what you're going to live with. I want to go back to that. But to be honest, I'm just too scared and locked in my own mind.
Yeah.
I can't, and I don't know how. But I want to go back to where I was. I hope I can get back there one day, but I can't stop quantizing my stuff.
I get that.
It's a
I get
big
it.
struggle.
No, I get it. Me and my cousin, when we were producing, we ended up in the same thing. And then what we ended up doing was we actually applied swing as a function in our software.
Nice.
To try to create some variation, right?
Yeah.
Because it was too quantized.
It's too quantized.
Yeah.
I don't get that a lot on the radio. Like I don't listen and just go, that's too quantized. It still sounds awesome, but it's missing something. And if you grew up in the 90s or the 70s or 80s, you know what it's missing.
Well, so I mean, if you want my 2 cents on this,
Yeah.
because I do come from the dance background where everything is, relatively quantized through the
I guess so. Even back to the 90s.
2000s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to fly up from New York and meet a guy named Earl Young. And Earl was a drummer from the Tramps.
Okay.
And Earl came up. I was at the time I was producing a show in Toronto called the CDJ Show. It was a dance music DJ conference. And we were I was looking for different things to because we had panel discussions and stuff like that. But we also had these individuals that would come in and do seminars. And I was looking for seminars. And one of the guys who I was working with at the time, Lenny Fontana, Lenny was doing a radio panel for me that year. And he said, hey, you know what you should do? You should bring up Earl Young from the Tramps. I've been working with Earl, and I bet you he'd come up. Okay. And I said, okay, well, what would he do? And he's like, well, he'd do a drum clinic. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, you just have to bring a drum kit for him, and he'll come and he'll show everybody how he came up with all these variations of the 4/4 drum beat. I said, what do you mean? And I had no clue. And he sort of educated me on the fact that Earl not only played for the Tramps, but he also played as a session player on all these other projects.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The Bee Gees and all these projects, right? And I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, you've heard his drumming on all these tracks, Gloria Gaynor, all these tracks that you just have no idea. You don't realize. And so anyway, I thought, okay, yeah, this is cool. So we did. We flew him up with his wife and got a drum kit, and he came in and he played, he played and he showed people and we recorded it, and he just showed people this is what I came up with, and this is the variations on it. And he's in his mid 70s, right? Probably closer to 80. Yeah. And he, and he's just sitting there and he's just playing live, just playing, playing nonstop, just playing. And we're all kind of like, wow, he's literally playing this riff, this song. When's it gonna end? And not because it wasn't good, it was great, but you were like, is he going to get tired soon? What's going on? And no, he was killing it. And we were all, and there was this moment in time where I was like, oh, right. He literally was creating all of this naturally. That rhythm that he's playing is him.
Yeah.
That's all him. Sure. And if you take that and you quantize it, which is what me and my cousin were doing at the time, you take those grooves and you quantize it. It's not a groove anymore.
It could be anybody.
It's not a groove anymore. It
doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it's literally now become just basically a bunch of ones and zeros that become tones.
100%.
And the human element is now removed.
The in between is gone.
Yeah. The human element, like you said, the imperfection.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're not perfect as humans. That imperfection that in a lot of people's opinion, including mine, helps to create that groove.
100%.
That you dance to, that you tap your foot to, all that stuff. That groove, if you over quantize, it's gone.
It is gone. Yeah, it's sterile. It's not even the same part.
No.
But that's what we're working within. Barely anybody.
But is a lot of that because everybody's running tracks? and click.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I don't run tracks. When I started getting into that field, everybody was using tracks, and I remember opening up for Jade Eagleson, Dean Brody, and the James Barker Band. All three of them were using tracks, and I was opening for them.
Right.
And I was so scared. What am I going to do? I don't have tracks. They're going to sound 10 times bigger than I am. I did it. I got through it. But I don't really know what it is. I think it's the human quest for perfection is the only reason we're using this stuff. We're all just missing the point. Like, what would John Bonham sound like quantized? That's why we loved him. You know, why would we take Eddie Van Halen's guitar and put every note? That's why we love them. But I'm saying the same thing. I would chop it up as much as I could too, just to make it perfect. We're all sick, man. We've just gone way too far.
Yeah, it's way too far. Maybe you got to start playing in a funk band or something.
I guess so. I don't know, man. I don't know why I'm even doing it. I remember going to the Newport Jazz Festival. I was touring. This was like 12, 15 years ago. I don't even remember. I was touring the States, and I remember seeing this bass player just playing stand-up bass. And I wasn't into jazz, but I went there because I had nothing better to do. I was on tour, and he was playing, and I didn't understand what he was playing, but then he's just weeping. And I understood it, right? I understood that. That's where the real music is. It's not on the beat.
No.
It's in between, and it's that emotion.
Yeah, it's that soul.
I want it back. I want everybody to stop so I can accept and stop. But I can't do it till we all agree we need to stop doing it. But then you need to be as good as John Bonham.
Well, you need to find talented players for sure to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the band that I took in to the studio, they don't need to be quantized. They don't. They're that good. There are people that are that good, and it's not necessary. But we still did. We still chop those. They're not right to the grid, but we still move the stuff around, you know?
Yeah.
It's fine. It is what it is. Nobody's going to tell the difference. But I think our humanly quest for perfection needs to just screw off in most aspects. But that's what we are. We go to the gym to get big muscles. We don't want to get, halfway there. Humans are just nuts, man. We're just nuts. You give us this machine and we just want to take it further and further. And I don't know. I think we're the problem. I don't know why we do it. We just want to be perfect,
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Jared, can you scroll up a bit for me? No, the other way. Sorry, I meant the other up. No, the other way. The other way. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, we already covered that. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, there we go. Thanks. No, keep going. Covered all that. Keep going. Yeah, there we go. Thanks. So yeah, no, I think that we are me and my cousin, I'll put it this way. Me and my cousin did one song, and we worked on this song, no word of a lie. We worked on this song for 6 months.
Yeah.
And at one point he started to send me remixes of it. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, we can redo it. We can make it better.
Yeah. You can always make it better.
And it was at that point in our journey where I had the chance to talk to some people, and they're like, man, you got to stop at some point.
Yeah.
You got to stop, because you can just, like you say, you can just keep going. And then eventually whatever you had, back at the beginning is vanished.
Gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be, there's a
You're
fine line there.
You're right
on that, right? Where you got to just know when to set it, when it's done.
But when is that? Well, that's the thing. When is it good? I don't know.
Well, but that's part of not living on the computer and playing live. Yeah. It's like what the guy you were working with said, right? Like, you're going to play it the best you can.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that is the only, in my opinion, one of the only ways from a live musician standpoint to have that happen.
For sure.
Right? Is like, okay, well, I'll fire up the recording. I'll record it. I'll play it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And yeah, maybe there's variations of that. Like you said, you were talking, you sang that song for 10 hours.
Yeah.
So that's an extreme version of that.
I couldn't believe
But
it.
after 10 hours, that was it. It's not like me and my cousin were 6 months later, you're still working on the song. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I think there's something to be said about that, where if you have the talent to sing it or play it live, then that's what you should do. And if you need to find some cool people to work with on the project, and whether it's co-writing or whether it's playing on the project, then that's what you do. When we put together a project back in the day, I was doing a country project. We tried to find the best players in town.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have budget to bring people in from out of town, especially for playing out live.
Sure.
We tried to find the best people we possibly could. And in the end, we did about a ton of rehearsals here at the studio. And man, I had goosebumps back then, because these guys they were all really like, Jesse Nestor and Josh Try.
I used Jesse. Oh, Jesse and Josh have played with me many times.
So, we had some really good players, man, on this project. And it was like, we all kind of knew, we were like, wow, this could really go somewhere. And everybody was committed. Everybody was in it. But that's not, you don't get Josh Try everywhere.
No.
And you don't get Jesse Nestor everywhere, right?
No.
Like it's not like if you're living in the middle of nowhere, you're going to find those guys down the road from you. I mean, maybe you'll find one, but not a whole band of them.
No.
So, but that's where you have to, that's where being in school, being online, social media, finding people. There's lots of tools now, man. I mean, I know people who've made entire songs, entire albums remotely now, where they're sending files back and forth, and, somebody will play a bass part and then send it over, and that way too. Right. But
every single song of mine that you get on Apple Music or Spotify, it was done that way.
Is that
through
right?
emails? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Jeff would create the shell. And then he's got his guys he uses, mainly out in Calgary. Or Pete. Pete played a lot of the guitar on it too. But yeah, all through email. That's kind of how it's a way to do it cheap too. The days of Tom Petty making an album and taking a year.
Oh, can you imagine what that cost back then?
Well, yeah, the record labels don't have the money. You don't have the returns. You don't have the physicals anymore. So what do? We use this computer to make it this good. We could record a song in a day. You can record a song in a day. It doesn't need to take a year, but it's not going to sound like Free Fallin'. To me, it's just not going to sound like that. You need to take a year. You need to try it all these different ways. You need to do that. And then at the end, that's where the magic is. But I mean, like my stuff, I listen to it. I go, hey man, it sounds perfect. It sounds great. I love it. But I miss those days. I don't think I'd want to be in the studio. I watched some Billy Corgan stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, I used to fight with Butch Vig, and it would take us 6 months, and they'd be at it. Do I want that? There's a reason everybody works on the computer.
Totally.
You don't want all that fighting. But as I say, the number one thing that's missing is the fight. It is Billy Corgan yelling at Butch Vig. And Butch Vig, Billy, you're nuts. That's where the real stuff comes from. Well, I think
but it's that human element, right?
Yeah, that's the human element. You're screaming. You're both fighting. Can you believe how stupid it is that Butch and we fight over a song like this? We strangle our brothers with
guitar strings.
Guitars. Can you believe how dumb it is? But that's how much we love it, and that's how much we care.
Yeah.
So bringing in a band like all the people I brought in on this new record I'm making, I will tell you, every one of them had something to say. And I had a vision of what it was going to be. And when we hit the first chord, I went, that's cool. Let's do that. And everybody had a say as we went along. Oh, you want to change that chord? Okay, let's try that. And it was the coolest thing. That's the way to me, that's the way it's supposed to be done. I can be in the room and create this thing, but when I think I brought 8 people in, when there's 8 people in the room that know what they're doing and they have suggestions too, the product's only going to get better. And I love it because it's not just me. I don't want to listen to something that I created. I want to listen to I want to go, man, that's a really cool guitar part. I never expected that. I want to listen to my music and I want to hear other people, not me. I'm the last person I want to hear on my record. You could call up Jeff, and I remember recording a song with him. I got kind of a high register I go into, like Willie Nelson or Neil Young, and I hate it. I hate it. And there was this one song where I'm like, I just sound like Neil Young. And he's like, 50% of the people are going to love you, 50 will hate you, man. That's where the magic is, in that whiny voice. But when I listen to myself, like when you played that video, I'm sitting here going, but it wasn't that bad. I was okay that day. But I guess I just dislike myself that much. But
you know what, man? I'll be honest. For many, many, many years, because I was a DJ, right, not a singer. And so for many years, I had a hard time listening to my own voice.
Sure.
But now doing this show,
yeah,
I have no choice.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
I have no choice. If I want to listen back to the episode,
yeah,
I have no choice. So I hear you loud and clear. Let's talk about Smoke and Ashes. What's that project all about?
Well, Pete L'Esperance, he's my buddy. He played a lot of stuff. He works with Jeff. He played a lot of guitar on all my albums, Dobro. He called me up one day. He liked my songwriting. Also the guitar player for Harum Scarum. They've been doing that for 30 years. And he called me up one day and said, hey, I want to go into the country field. I got all these songs that I've started. You want to write a song with me? So we wrote a song. He brought this song into me called High on Sunday. And he smokes a lot of weed, and it was about weed. To us it is anyways.
Imagine that. And
I didn't start smoking weed till I was like 36 or something. And it's been really good to settle me down. When I got into music on that commercial level, my anxiety went through the roof. And we wrote this song. And at the end he goes, well, this isn't Pete L'Esperance. And I go, well, this isn't Aaron Allen either. And we went, what is this? This is cool. And we said, all right, this is Smoke and Ashes. And then he goes, you just want to write an EP and we'll do this? And I said, yeah, sure. All right, we'll write, 20, 30 songs. And Pete went, no, we're going to write 6 songs. And that's all we're going to write. And they're all going to be awesome. And that's going to be the EP. And I went, whoa, I had never met anybody like Pete. He's so sure of himself and a master of what he does. So I went, okay, cool. We wrote 6 songs, had a lot of fun. He produces them all at home. And we put them out there in the world, and we've had really good luck on satellite radio.
That's cool.
Sirius XM, I think they've added almost everything we've done.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's been a great time.
What station is it on?
That's CBC 171.
Okay.
That's where I get I think they've probably picked up 10, 11 Aaron Allen songs. So that really helps me with my income. The Sirius CBC, they're lifesavers. They're lifesavers for sure. So we've had a lot of luck on there. We would play live if we could. Pete's out with Dean Brody. He plays guitar for Dean Brody.
Oh, okay.
He plays guitar for Bubbles and the Shit Rockers. Bubbles from the Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah, Mikey.
So, yeah, if you saw Standing on the Shoulder of Kitties, if you saw that movie, Pete's the guitar player in there. His Slug, he's in the movie.
That's hilarious.
Calls me up one day and he goes, he had a buddy in Nashville. His buddy in Nashville plays with Bubbles. And you go, they need a guitar player. You're hired, Pete. So they go out to this compound in Halifax or whatever. The Trailer Park Boys have a compound out there. And he calls me. He goes, I'm out on this compound and I'm an actor in the movie now. They're shooting a movie and I'm an actor and I have lines and everything. I'm like, this is crazy. And then a year later, the movie comes out and I go see my buddy on the big screen. And
that's awesome.
It was pretty surreal, man. So if Smoke and Ashes took off, Pete and I both want to do that. Our hearts are in that. And we're such good friends. I would love to spend a lot of time with him, but it's so hard to get any project out. Like we pitched that, and he's a little bit older than me, and I'm 43 myself. And the reaction was, "This is really good, but what are you guys doing? You're not 19 and 25."
Jared, can you pull the photos up of the band?
Yeah, they go, "What are you doing?" At this stage, what are you looking for? We signed 20-year-olds. We don't sign men in their 40s and beyond. I said, yeah, but we're cool as hell. This is something different.
Yeah, Smoking Ashes. That's it. Yeah, there we go.
So we went into to a studio to do a live thing, and we have 2 drummers. It's like an 8-9 piece band. Yeah, there it is right there. So Jeff Dalziel, the producer I was telling you about, he's on the drums there.
Yeah.
But this is the band. Aimee's in there. There's like 8-9 of us. So if something went off, yeah, we would go out. But there's 8 or 9 of us. We can't go play for $400.
Yeah.
It's
no
like
doubt.
it's like $3,000-$4,000 a gig. And so it doesn't really happen, right? But we've had some good success. We got a song coming out on Fire Country on episode 26 of this season. So we're still out there. Things are still happening. And this picture here is a lot of the same people are in there. The general plays pedal steel, but this is the crew on my new Aaron Allen record.
Okay.
So we're down at RHC Studios in Toronto here. Derek Goodwin's a London drummer. He's been playing with me for about at least a decade. But I love Pete so much, I brought him into this project. I couldn't do it without him. But
amazing.
Again, here, the Aaron Allen project is usually about 7 people on stage is what I like. I like keys. I like pedal steel. I like no tracks. See, the reason people run tracks is because that's what it looks like when you don't run tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a lot of money.
Yeah, if you're trying to play out, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I got a friend that plays Allie Walker, and she goes out and she plays with just a drummer and a guitar player. And then I think the rest are on tracks. And most people, I don't even think even realize the rest is on tracks. But I mean, that's kind of something you got to do to make it these days. I don't blame anybody for playing the tracks or
no, yeah,
you know. And the sound that came out of the show that night was just incredible. And so yeah, I don't have anything against tracks. I want people to know that the only for me the reason I don't play with tracks is because I want to hear that piano live. I want to hear that pedal steel live. I don't want it on a track. And I'm going to mess up. Every show I play, I'm going to mess up. I don't want to be on tracks when I do it.
Yeah.
We all remember the Ashley Simpson thing, but I mean that, you know, it happens to everybody. You just go, hey, shut the tracks off now. And then you play and you continue on. But I don't know why I've never used them. The show does sound bigger. The show does sound better. It can sound better, you know. But I don't know. For me, it's just too different to have something in my ear. Like I remember my buddy's sons. He's in Sons of Daughters. He was in Sons of Daughters. Jimmy Thau. He's a songwriter down in Nashville now. He was when you would listen to his tracks, he would say, "Okay, and the chorus is coming in 5, 4, 3." That's what his players would be hearing. And now we're going to the bridge in 3, 2, 1. And then the whole band would go into the bridge. That's what the tracks, I don't want to listen to that while I'm playing. But the hired guns love it, right? Because, hey man, that makes their job so much easier.
Sure.
So much easier. And it's like, here's a blueprint, man. So that's why they do it that way. But I don't want to listen to anybody's voice while I'm playing or a click track going, I don't know. I probably should. It would be a better show, I think. I think it'd be a better, tighter show, to tell you the truth. But I don't know.
It can be. I think it's just different, right?
It's different.
I think I've seen lots of acts that do play to tracks. And you're right. It can sound big. It can sound awesome. It definitely sounds like the record. You know, for sure. There's all that. But I think that there's something to be said about playing it live. And you know, I went to see a good example of this is I went to go see, well, 2 examples. I went to go see the Zach Brown band open up for Kenny Chesney in Detroit. And you know, I had seen Zach online and I expected it to be good, but I mean, you know, when the fiddle player did a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody.
I've seen it, yeah.
It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
And my brother and I tried to explain to my dad how good it was because we went to the show.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it any justice. And then he went, they played Rama just recently and he took my mom and they went up there and I asked them and they're like, oh yeah, that fiddle player. And I said, yeah, see, there you go. And so it was, you know, but when I look back at it, you know, there's no way you could have done what they did to tracks. in some of those songs, because it was the originality of what they were doing, their sound that they were putting into it, the variations of playing a little faster, a little slower, you know, all that stuff they were doing that you couldn't have done with tracks. I mean, that's not going to happen.
True.
And the other example I have is years ago, pre-COVID, I got to see Chicago play with Earth, Wind and Fire.
Nice.
Here in town.
Okay.
At the Bud. And that was mind blowing. I think we were in like the 8th row or something. And I mean, I'm a fan of both acts.
Oh yeah.
Right. You know, both obviously a little bit different, but you know, big really good horn sections in both bands. But that was unreal. And of course, you know, once you get everybody up there, I mean, you know, there's 5 guitar players and 7 horn players and 3 drummers and 2 percussionists.
Yeah.
And like 2 bass players.
Seems like overkill, but it's great.
But when they play, like they're playing each other's tunes, right?
Yeah.
And when they play together, it's like, you're like, wow, this is mind blowing.
It is.
And again, you like no possible way tracks could be a part of that.
For sure.
Because it's just so dynamic that it's just not possible. But, you know, mind you, I mean, they've been at it a little while and
yeah, they know what they're doing.
And they've got, you know, a few albums, right?
Yeah.
Chicago especially, you know, just a couple. But you know what, man, it was polished and it was an absolutely incredible show, and I'm sure they made mistakes.
Yeah.
But we talked earlier about the groove, like that.
There's nothing like that, man. I remember my buddy years before Sturgill Simpson was big. He goes, "You want to go see the Sturgill Simpson guy?" I'm like, "All right, whatever." So I went and saw him here in London. I think they were at the music hall, and he had a horn section and everything. He had a big band, and he played, and it was the most incredible thing. He got a standing ovation, and I stood up.
Wow!
After every song, every single song they played, we all instinctively stood up. It was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. There's no way they could have done that to tracks. It blew my mind. So when you say that, maybe some people like that keep me off the tracks, but that with the horn section was incredible. And at the end of the night, the drummer came outside to have a smoke or something. He goes, "Hey, we're all going to go over to," I think it was Poachers or something. Yeah. "You want to go over to Poachers with me?" And I didn't know who Sturgill was at this time. I go, "Nah, I got kids I got to get up with in the morning, man. I'm good." Okay. And I didn't go. And then like he won a Grammy the next year or something. Honestly, won like a Grammy the next year. And I went, holy cow, I could have went and had some drinks with, I don't drink. So that was one thing, but yeah, right. I could have went to Poachers and hung out with Sturgill Simpson. I didn't. But like you said, I had never felt anything that good. Tom Petty was pretty awesome, but that horn section and him having 12 people up there, it's next level.
It can be.
It just is.
It can be.
Yeah.
And you get the right players that are all in sync, and it's, you know, and again, it's not perfect. They're making mistakes, but they're so dialed in that they just continue forward, and the groove continues, and it's like, you know, and everybody's doing their part, but it's you know, not everybody can be at that level. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's just the reality. So you're right. That's true. You're right in what you said earlier on, right? Where there's some people that have to be okay with being at a certain level. Yeah. And, you know, because in order to get sometimes to that level, it takes a lifetime.
It takes years of your life. It takes years off your life, and it takes years off your family's life. Yeah. That's what you're sacrificing. So I go, is AI the way to go? Did I do it wrong? Am I doing it wrong? Well, are they right?
AI is only in the as far as being an advanced tool in the toolbox. I mean, that's just a new development, right?
Well, but too, I know it's being used. I've seen people rate entire songs, go, oh, this is what I want the song to be about. They spit it out, and there it all is. Well, I don't have to go through all the pain that I did, but at the same time, you guys aren't going to get the emotional, all that stuff that you need out of your body. I need these songs out of my body.
Yeah.
That's why I put them out there. But yeah, even AI is a great tool, because my buddy showed me the other day, demos. When you're a songwriter, we're paying these people to make the demos so we can pitch them to the artists, right? If you're going to pitch a song to Luke Bryan and you think you're going to do it with a work tape, you're nuts. So we need our work tapes to sound radio ready. Like when the artist hears that, it needs to sound, take your voice out and let's put this on the radio. But now he showed me, oh, dude, you could just do that with AI and you're ready to pitch. I want this to sound, I could switch my voice out with a woman and then I could pitch that to a woman. And I don't have to go pay anybody anything. So I think there are really cool things about it too, right?
Tool in the toolbox, brother.
Yeah, tool in the toolbox. I'm on board. Yeah,
I get it. It's going to be a thing. It's going to become more and more and more of a thing. There's not much we're going to be able to do about it. It's just like, it's guys like, certain guys like Little John, and all these different artists, utilizing technology to make their voice sound a certain way or duplicate stuff in the recording a certain way, or Akon's another guy from hip hop world, right? Like, so these guys just, this technology comes out, becomes accepted socially, and they use it. Sure. And so again, tools in a toolbox, but they're still super talented people.
Totally.
And so, there's no substitution for that, for the work that needs to still go in and the talent, for sure. Talk to me about the studio. So you said you got a studio in the basement.
Yeah.
And you mentioned to me that you were producing some other people. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I'm kind of just getting to the point where I probably have 15 of my own songs I'm working on down there right now. I got full production studio. We do drums down there, everything.
Cool.
But I've produced a couple people over the years, but I'm more like, time is short and I want to get my songs out into the world.
Sure.
I was never that interested in production, but now that I'm, kind of slowing down a little bit, I don't necessarily want to be out there playing gigs and on the road. Production kind of seems like a cool thing for me to get into, but it's also hard because, I have had a couple artists and I see things one way. They see things another, but I see things this way because I know what it takes to get there. A lot of them aren't necessarily willing to do that sort of work, to even sing the song for 10 hours like I sang Where Music Comes From. Most artists don't even want to do that. It's really hard to motivate them to get them to that level. So production is tough for me. It's really hard to find an artist willing to put in that sort of work.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do it, so that's why I have 15 songs down there. But I would love to find artists that are willing to do that, because I can't accept anything less, because I can't even accept that from myself. I can't put that out into the world with Aaron Allen, so I'm not going to do that with anybody else. So I haven't really done a lot of production on other people.
Yeah, right. I think that people who are looking to record their stuff have to be cautious of that. I think that there's a certain kind of artist that should hire a producer.
Yeah.
And there's a certain kind of artist that should just go in a studio and hire an engineer.
Exactly.
If you think you know everything about what you need to know, then just go to a studio and hire an engineer and tell them to hit record.
Yeah. And that's great too.
Self-produced all the way, right? Okay, great. I hear you loud and clear. having that kind of person in your studio could be a bit of an issue.
It's an issue because it's if you're a producer out there, you know what it takes to produce a song. And when somebody goes, it's going to be $1,000, or in my case, I pay over $5,000 a song. Like if you're going down to Nashville, you're going to pay $10,000 and above probably for a single. But you don't understand what that person's doing.
Yeah,
it's insane what they're doing. It's a whole next level. If you're paying that sort of money, the time that they're taking to create maybe 3-4 different versions to get it exactly right for that money, it's not even worth my time. Even if you're paying me $5,000, I don't even think it's worth my time away from my family. You know, that's how much it takes to do that. I question it all the time. But I love music. I love the finished product. That's what I love, but I wish it didn't take all that time in between, but that's what it takes to be good.
Yeah.
Or to just get it across the line.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we don't even need to say to be good, but sometimes to just get it across the line, because look what you can do with a computer in your room. It sounds that good.
Yeah.
You know, it's a difficult thing. So if someone's going to say, hey, your single is going to be 10 grand, I'm going to pay it because I know what it's going to sound like. The first time I had a call with somebody at that level and they go, yeah, it's going to be 5,000 plus your players, you're probably looking at about 7,500 for the song. I was like, what, are you crazy? I'm not. I could do a whole album for $7,500. And I had made some money. I had a song, Slow, that I did in the Sugar Shack. I had ended up making a good amount of money, and I went, let's do it one time. I'll do it one time. And I paid the $7,500. And once I did it, I went, oh, okay. I wouldn't squabble over it the next time.
Right.
I see why. Because they're trying to make it as bulletproof as possible. And they're doing everything they can to do it for that $5,000 to $10,000. It's not a waste of money. There are places you could go where it is going to be a waste of money, but if you didn't do the research, then that's probably your fault.
Yeah, that's on you, right?
That's on you. Yeah. But if you research the producer, like with me, I had a song on a playlist, on an Apple playlist. It got there randomly because I knew a guy who knew a guy.
Funny how that goes.
Yeah, from my punk rock days, one of my punk rock buddies knew a punk rock curator at Apple.
Oh, wow.
And I said, hey, can you send him this song? See, it's country, but can you send it to him? He sent it to the punk rock guy, and the punk rock guy goes, I sit right beside the country guy. I'll give it to him. And he gave it to him, and I got on that playlist. And it was on there for about 2 weeks, and it got taken down. It didn't do well. But I went through the list, and I looked at all the producers on this Apple playlist. And as I went through it, Jeff Dalziel did Washboard Union. Jeff Dalziel, he did Nice Horse, Dan Davids. There was a lot of people on that list that Jeff Dalziel did. So I said, that's the guy I need. If I want to be on this playlist, that's the guy I need. And I called him, and you know, it happened. I got on that playlist, and then when I got on that playlist, I got on Top Country playlists, and then I got on 12 playlists, and then I had 5 million streams. Sometimes it just takes like a little bit of work going, what do I need? What do I want? And all you need to do is just like unlock the combination. I've always been a weasel like that. And just, how can I weasel my way in here? I remember the show Hell on Wheels. I don't know if you watched that show, but I loved it.
Yeah.
The soundtrack was amazing. It introduced me to Gillian Welsh. I fell in love with that soundtrack, and I did a record at the Sugar Shack called Better Days. And it sounded like that show. And I wanted that record on that show. So I couldn't find the music supervisor. I went through everything. I finally found his home phone number on the internet.
Oh, no.
I called him at his house.
Yeah.
I said, Rick Clark, this is Aaron Allen. I love Hell on Wheels. I got a record for you. You inspired me. We ended up talking for a good hour.
Oh,
him and
wow.
I.
That's amazing.
He didn't tell me hang up the phone or anything. We ended up talking for an hour, and he goes, I think they were in season 4. He goes, I'm sorry to tell you, but season 4 is going in a different direction. We're not going to have any of that country folk stuff anymore.
Oh, wow.
I watched season 4, and he wasn't lying to me, but he goes, can you please, here's my address. Can you please send me that record so I can listen to it? And I did. And I want everybody out there to know that's the kind of weasel stuff it takes they're all humans. But that's the kind of stuff that I would do. I would spend hours on the internet going, no, this is what I want. How do I find this guy?
Yeah, yeah.
How do I stay on this Apple playlist? Well, if this producer produced 10 of these artists on here, why wouldn't I be on here? I'm going to call this guy. But I tried to figure out any way, because I knew it's not just going to come to you. You're not just going to play a gig and Joe record label is going to be there signing this guy. It's not going to happen. I spent years of my life just figuring out ways, and that one worked. That's how I got in that relationship with Jeff. It's from that Apple playlist.
Wow.
And then that's how it came to be. And then I saw how it all worked and everything, and it opened that whole world. But that's how, I don't know. That's my advice to the kids. Go out there and do all that stuff and make it happen on your own. Don't just wait for the label or anything. Do that, and then you'll know more about the business. You won't just go, okay, and then trust that they have your best interest, because they never do. If you do it yourself, you're going to learn these things along the way. I learned what a music supervisor was because I called him at his house, and that's a little weird. I admit it. That's weird. But the worst he could say is no. The worst he could do is hang up on me, and I didn't care. It wasn't going to hurt me if you hang up the phone on me. Or these Apple guys, if they didn't like my music, I don't care. Worst thing they're going to do is say no.
Sure.
So you take those shots. If you do all that legwork, when the label calls you, when it didn't work out until you're 38, you're going to go, I kind of know how it works, and this does not sound good to me.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know.
So what's coming down the pipe for you, man?
I got another song coming out with Jeff. This record that we're making down in Toronto actually is going to be an Aaron and Aimee record. Okay. So my wife is going to be singing leads on half of it.
Wow.
I'm going to sing leads on half of it. And this is an important record to me. Like you said, I write stuff about what's going on in my life. And about a year and a half ago, my wife and I were talking about, I asked her for a divorce a year and a half ago, to be candid.
Jeebus.
Yes, and we went through a lot of stuff, and we had never written songs together other than Good Tattoo.
Okay.
We started it together, and I finished it with Phil. She didn't come down. I think that's the only other song we wrote together, but we went through this, and we went through therapy, and we were sitting out in the backyard one day, and I said, I got this idea for a song. And she goes, oh, that's cool, and we just wrote it together in like 45 minutes in the backyard. And then we wrote another one, and it's about us, what we were going through. There's some fun. It's not like, oh, doom and gloom and divorce. There's a song on there called Shatterproof, because we did make it through that time. She sings lead on that one. It's about a woman being shatterproof, but yeah, we're making a record together, and we wrote all the songs together. And I can tell you, my wife is the most talented person I've ever met. I spent all this time, I spent 25 years learning how to write songs, a good 3 years going down to Nashville, and thousands of songs. She's as good as any of those writers. Wow. I could not believe it. We just wrote the songs, and her ideas were better than mine. I could not believe how talented she was. And she was sitting there the whole time.
Yeah, incredible.
I was going down to Nashville to find that, and I had her there the whole time. I couldn't believe her ideas. And so I'm really stoked about this. And, the local guys, Derek's on there, and the team, the live players, they're all on there. So this record that's coming out, I'm really excited about. Really excited.
When do you figure it's gonna drop? Sometime later in the year?
I think we're gonna put out the first single this summer, and it's gonna be Shatterproof. She's gonna be singing the lead, and like I say, I don't really like to sing and do all that. So to have her singing and taking half the work is pretty cool. And I'm really excited to see her go into that spotlight. And I still want to be the drummer in the back.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to be the drummer in the back.
You'd be like Dave Grohl, man. You can go back and forth.
That's true. That's true. But I didn't keep that up. I wish I did. But I'm really excited about that. And then I got another one coming out with Jeff, and I think it's our best song we've ever done.
Oh, wow.
So there's really cool things to come out, and I'm just it's been a year since I've released a song. I've just been going through personal stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Questioning why I do this anymore. Dealing with debilitating anxiety and being off my medication, and trying to navigate this musical world and be strong on my own. Like I said, when I thought that I couldn't do it on my own, I lost all my confidence, because the industry, if it doesn't have a Nashville stamp on it, or if you're not listening to what they say, sometimes they make you feel like you're not good enough. And it doesn't take much before I feel like I'm not good enough, because musicians are fragile.
Sure, of course.
So I kind of ended up there. So I know music's been taking a long time to come out, but wait till you hear it. It's going to be worth it. I'm sure of it.
Wicked. Dude, where can people find your music, the stuff you've done, the stuff you've released? Where can people find it?
Just Google Aaron Allen. It's all there. That's all you need to do.
Perfect.
Yeah, you can find it and share it, please. I appreciate it.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you. My
Talking
pleasure.
about your journey and sharing, and it was awesome, man.
It was a great time. It seemed like 20 minutes, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot,
you.
dude. Everybody, Ryan here from Music City Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Take care.
Thank you for watching Music City Live. If you like this episode, like the video. And for more clips and episodes, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to join the conversation by commenting below and visit us at musiccityliveshow.com.